Okay, this is the second video where we are using page 167. Make sure you've put your name and number on both sides of this workbook paper and that you still have your journal out and that you've turned your journal's page to the back side of the notes we already took. As much fun as page 167 looks, 20 fact practice. We're not going to be doing page 167. What we are going to be doing is cutting. Actually, I'm going to give you some stamp options, I think. So what I would like us to do is to do steps 24, the problems 24, 25, and 26. But be very careful. When you do number 24, I want you just to cut on, let me see if this will work. Ooh. I kind of want you to cut under the sentence, if the length is 1.5 meters, how wide will the bed be? That's where I want you to cut. So let me show you what I mean. So right under problem 23 is where I want you to cut. Now be careful when you cut it off because you're going to get a stamp option on the back side. So again, I went to number 23 and I went to the very bottom of the story problem. How wide will the bed be? And I cut a straight line all the way across. Save this top half for later and pull the bottom half out, which is problems number 24, 25, and 26. And you're going to cut those all out separately and we're going to glue them into our journal. Space them out evenly, 24, 25, 26. I don't need any blue lines. I just want the story problems so that we don't have to write all the story problems. So I'm just hurrying and bubble cutting. There's no need to save the back side of this one. So 24, 25, 26 I cut out. I threw the little scraps away. I don't even need this part that says write an equation and solve, and I don't even want the blue line. So it's just the text of the story problem that I want, and I'll put that one in my journal. So again, 24, 25, and 26. Let me tell you what the other option is. Actually, I'm not going to tell you. Don't lose this half of the paper. The paper that has number 21 on it, Maggie. Don't lose that. Oh, you know what? I kept the bolded words on number 25, and I don't need those. See where it says write an equation and then solve? You can cut that off. We are going to write the equation and solve, but we don't need to keep that on there. Okay, so I have 3 story problems in my journal. I kind of put one in the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom. I think that is what I would do if I were you. Put that one at the pretty far top because you can't put this at the very bottom. You need space to work underneath it. So I'm kind of doing it like this, where I'd have space underneath each problem. And then go ahead and get it glued in there. Something I want you to think about as we go through this is the equation. We haven't been doing very much practice at writing the equation since the last unit. So let's kind of get back into that habit. You can help remind me too if I'm working with you or if we're in a group. You can help remind me to write the equation first. That's always going to be important. Okay. Well, it kind of took me a little while. Maybe you need to pause the video. If you're not quite where I am yet, you can pause the video, but try to do it quickly. Okay. Keep out these 2 colors in your pencil. They're going to be handy. And don't lose that top half. Save it for a little while. Okay, number 24. We're going to underline the important information. We're going to write the equation. In fact, if we write equation right now, it will help Ms. Fisher not forget. So write equation to underneath number 24 to the left, kind of. Guess what? I'm going to have us do that to all of the problems right now. Go to number 25 and write equation with a line. And number 26. Remember, equation means just write what you're going to be doing with the math and write equals x because x is the product. So, using these colors, we're going to highlight what we find that's important information, and then we're going to solve the problem. Okay? Number 24. Please read it with me as I read it. The door to Sophia's room is 0.9 meters wide and 2.06 meters tall. Those are going to be important because it has some numbers in there. So I'm going to use the aqua blue and I'm just going to circle them. 0.9 meters and 2.6 meters tall. So what are we talking about? A door. In order to buy paint to paint it, she needs to know the area of one side of the door. What is the area of one side of her door? That's really smart, actually, that they said one side, because otherwise you'd get the answer and have to double it. But it's really smart they just said one side. So what do we do to find the area? Well, area equals length times width. We know that. Let's write that up here on the very top. Capital A equals L times W. We kind of do that cursive L. Okay, so the equation is the length times the width. Well, in this case, we're not talking about the length because we're talking about a door that stands up tall. So the length gets replaced kind of there with the height, and that's okay. So the equation is going to be L times W, or 2.06 times 0.9. So write that on the equation line, 2.06 times 0.9. And then we have to put this on the end of the equation, equals X. That's the equation. So now let's solve that problem. First of all, before you stack it up, let's save ourselves some time and look at it. Which of these should go on top? Even thinking about the 0 step. Think about it. This 0 is going to get, the 0 in 2.06 is going to get stuck in the middle. And the 0 in front of the 0.9 is going to get crossed out. So we can put the 2.06 on the top. So let's come over here to the right and write 2.06 times 0.9. Very first step, decimal box. Outline it in aqua blue and tell me what number goes in that. Show it to me on your fingers in 3, 2, 1. The number should have been 3. Please write a 3 in the decimal box. And now deal with the zeros. Well, there's a 0 in that first number, but it's stuck in the middle, tight as a fiddle, can't move. But there is a 0 in the next one. That is in front. It's a runt. Cross it out. I used purple for that. You should too. So now it's like doing 206 times 9. Then we'll put the decimal back in at the end. So start over in the bottom right corner with the 9 and multiply up and across. This won't need a plunk or flunk because it's a 3 by 1. There's 3 digits in the first number and only 1 digit in the second number now. Okay, so I do the multiplication now. 9 times 6 is 54. Drop the 4 and carry the 5. 9 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is 5, and then 9 times 2 is 18. So you drop the 8, but there's nowhere to carry the 1, so you just put it in front of the answer. Can that be the answer? 1,854? No. This is supposed to be taking a piece of 2. That's why you need our lovely decimal box. Draw the arrow. And move it 3 places. Think it through. If you move that 3 places, could that be a piece of 2? Yeah, if you moved it 3 places, it'd be in between the 8 and the 1. So 1.854. That could be a piece of 2. So I'm going to circle that with purple. And it's a story problem. Plus, it was the area of something. So I'm going to be doing measurement as well. Whew, a lot of things are going on here. So what is the area of one side of her door? The area of one side of her door is, put that in a sentence just like I said, the area of one side of her door is. $1.854 But what is the measurement? Is it just meters? No, it would just be meters if you were trying to find the dimensions. But I'm trying to find the area, so it's square meters or meters squared. I don't care how you do that. I'm just going to put a little m with a 2, like as an exponent. That means meters squared. You could write out square meters if you want. It doesn't matter. The area of one side of her door is 1.854 meters squared. That's the end. Let's go ahead and put that in. Actually, I like it just in pencil. Okay, moving on to number 25. Adrian and Evelyn have a pet cat. A pet cat. Adrian and Evelyn have a pet cat. When they got it as a kitten, it weighed 0.6 kilograms. That seems important. Now it weighs 7.3 times as much. That also seems important. Please circle 7.3. Do you see the phrase times as much as it did when it was a kitten? Times as much should be underlined in purple. That is telling you that it's multiplication. So how much did their cat weigh? Oh, so how much does their cat weigh now? So it was little itty bitty when they got it as a kitten. And then it's heavier. 7.3 times heavier. It doesn't say 7.3 kilograms heavier. It says times as much. If it just said 7.3 kilograms more, then you would just add. But it says 7.3 times as much. So you have to multiply. Okay, the equation 0.6 times 7.3. Equals x. Take a look at it. This one, it should matter which one you put first. Otherwise, you're going to end up having to rewrite it. It looks like it's a 2 by 2 right now, but be careful. Why would I be cautious about this one? Because one of those numbers has a 0 out in front. That's a runt. Do you see the number that it is? Yeah, so don't put that one on top. You're going to end up making it just a 1-digit number. So put the other one on top and you'll save yourself some time. What can I say except you're welcome? Put the 7.3 on top. Then the 0.6. And draw your decimal box. Put the correct number that goes in the decimal box and use blue for the outlining of the box. What number goes in there? It's a 2. Because the first number has 1 place value after the decimal, and the second number has 1 place value after the decimal. And 1 and 1 make 2. Okay, now you've got a 0 out in front, so I'm just going to cross it out. It's a runt. So aren't you so glad we wrote that one first? So you don't have to rewrite it. Now it's just saying 73 times 6, so it's actually not that hard. Go ahead and solve that problem. There's not a partial product. All you're doing is taking a piece of 7.3. It cannot be 438. So use your blue to draw the arrow and move the decimal 2 places. Could 4.38 be a piece of 7.3? Yeah. So I'm going to circle it in purple. And I'm going to think about what my final answer should be. It says, how much does their cat weigh now? So this is a weight. So it also needs a label. So their cat now weighs 4.38 what? What is the measurement they gave us before? Is it pounds? Is it ounces? Is it kilograms? Is it grams? Look at the story problem. It's kilograms. And you could have worded this a little bit differently. You could say, their cat weighs 4.38 kilograms now. Or you could say, Adrian and Evelyn's cat. A lot of different ways. But the main point in there is that you write it in a sentence and that you put the correct label, which is kilograms. 4.38 kilograms. All right, let's try number 26. The official weight of a U.S. penny, by the way, you should be reading this with me. Let's go again. Whisper, read it with me. The official weight of a U.S. penny is 2.5 grams. I circle that in blue. Let's start reading that from the beginning. The official weight of a U.S. penny is 2.5 grams. A quarter weighs a little more than 2.2 times as much as the penny. Oh, you saw it too, didn't you? 2.2 is going to be the other important number. Circle that in blue. And you see the phrase that tells us it's going to be multiplying? Times as much as. There it is again. It was the same one that was above. Outline that in purple. So we have 2.5 and we have 2.2 and we're going to be multiplying. So the equation is 2.5 times 2.2 equals x. Look, this is a 2 by 2 and it does not have any zeros. So it doesn't matter which one goes on top. I would just put the first one on top. Make sure that you also draw the decimal box and that you get it outlined in blue. The number that goes in that decimal box is 2, because 1 on top, 1 on bottom makes 2. So now it's like doing 25 times 22. You can do this. This is a double by double, which means you're going to use the 0 for place value, or the plunk or flunk 0, so keep that blue out and handy. If you know how to do this type of problem, go right ahead. If you want to stick with me, you sure can. Let's see if we all get the same answer at the end. So 2 times 5 is 10. I drop the 0 and carry the 1. And then I have 2 times 2, so I go back to the bottom right and then across. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the little 1 is 5. So I'm all done with those. So I'm going to cross out what I don't need. I don't need the 2 in the bottom right corner. I don't need the baby 1 anymore. Once I start crossing things out, I need to remember that's time for 0, the hero, who flies in and holds a place value. So he comes right underneath the other 0 that's there. And he holds that place value so that I can move on to the next place value. The next place value on the bottom is over here at the other 2. So I start all over again. 2 times 5 is 10. I drop the 0 and carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the little 1 is a 5. So my first partial product is 50, and my second partial product is 500. Pretty interesting. Add those partial products together. How in the world is it 550? I was supposed to do 2 times 2 plus a little more. 2 times 2 is 4, not 550. Oh, step number 5. I was acting, just so you know. I always remember the decimal box because that's so important. So I need to move it over 2 place values, which means it goes in between the 2 5s. Remember, it starts at the end and moves over 2. So it goes in between the 5s. Could 5.50 be 2 times 2 plus some more? Absolutely. So I circle that in purple, and then now I'm going to write it in a sentence. About how much does a quarter weigh? A quarter weighs about, go ahead and start writing. A quarter weighs about 5.5. Now, I can say 5.5 or I can say 5.50. Remember, when there's a 0 at the very end of a decimal, you don't have to say it. I'm going to say it just so it doesn't stress some of you out, but a lot of you know you could just leave that off. They're the same answer. You need to be able to recognize that 5.50 is the same as 5.5. But I can't be done because I'm talking about a weight. So what is the weight? Is it kilograms this time? Does a quarter seriously weigh heavier than the cat up here? No, it's not kilograms. Look at the story problem and find out what the measurement is. It's grams. So the answer is a quarter weighs about 550 grams. Okay, so those are how we solve some real world problems. Wasn't that so fun? It was a blast. What I want you to do is you can keep your journal out if you need it for all of the steps. If you know what the steps are, you can put your journal away. But what I want to do is work on one of the homework problems with you and then offer the challenge. I asked you to keep the little half paper that started with number 21 for Maggie. I still want you to keep it and just set it to the side. If you have not picked up the homework and remembering, go grab it, because there is a problem on here that I want to work on with you. And that problem is number 6. I think number 6 is super interesting. Okay, let's look at number 6 really carefully. We have a problem that is a 2 by, well, technically it's a 3 by 2, but that one has a lot of zeros going on. So you're going to end up rewriting this one. Will you pick up your blue and write an RW? Let's write an RW just kind of over the top of it, really. Actually, let's write the RW underneath the line, because we're not going to be putting our answer right there. So I'm going to write the RW underneath number 6's line. You have to rewrite that problem. So if your brain can spot check these, it will save you a little bit of time. And here's why. The first one looks like it's a 3-digit on top, but look, it's a 0 out in front. So you're going to be crossing that one out using purple. So it becomes a 2 by 2, but then there's a 0 at the end. So you're going to be bringing that 0 down. Just color that one in. You're going to be bringing, so this one gets crossed out. The other one gets colored in. So really it's going to end up being like a 3.8 or 38 times 8. So let's rewrite it right now as what we know it's going to be, a 38 times 8. But as I rewrite it, I want you to still put the decimal box and put that in blue. And I want you to remember we had a 0 that we were supposed to bring down into our answer. That one that was at the end. So let's bring it right now into the end of our answer right here. I just made a big purple blob. I really want that to be shaped more like a 0. Use your pencil if you need to. So it's 38 times 8 and then with something that ends with a 0. But you still have to put a number in that decimal box. So what number goes in the decimal box? Go back to the original problem. It's a pretty big number. The number that goes in that decimal box is a 3 because it was 2 place values on top and 1 on the bottom. So do 38 times 8, end it with a 0, and then move the decimal. So 8 times 8 is 64, so drop the 4 and carry the 6. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 6 is 30. So it looks like 3040 is what it looks like. But you have to move the decimal. That wouldn't make sense because you're taking a piece, 0.80 or 0.8. You're taking a piece of 3. So it can't be 3040. This is why that decimal is so handy. So we're going to move the arrow down. Move it 3 times. Moving it once goes in front of the 0. Twice goes in front of the 4. And 3 times goes in front of the other 0. So it's 3.040. I'm going to rewrite it just right here in this space because it looks messy. So should you. 3.040. Could that be a piece of 3.8? Yeah. Final answer. I honestly think that is one of the hardest problems on here. I seriously do. Ooh, look at numbers 13 and 14. Those are kind of fun. Let's solve those together really quickly. Number 13 is asking about properties, and you do have to complete it, which means you do have to solve for it. But let's first just figure this out. Let's see what they're doing here, okay? So they first had 4.3 times 6.2, and then they subtracted something times 1.1. But when they rewrote it, they did 4.3 times 6.2 minus 1.1. So what they did was they must have pulled out the 4.3. That is the distributive property. When you throw out and then combine the other things. So instead of having a 6.2 here, they did a 6.2 minus 1.1 there. So this is the distributive property. Go ahead and write that on the line. Distributive. Did we have to solve? I don't think we have to solve it. I think we just have to fill in the blank and write distributive property, which is awesome. Doesn't say solve the problem. So let's just come up to that blank line. What is the number that should have been there? It's the number that they pulled out. In order to have a problem that ended like this number must have also been 4.3. And move over to number 14. Look at these numbers. Is there a number they pulled out? Did they change the order? Did they just change the groupings? And everything stayed in the same order? Let's look. 8.9, then a 5.3, and a 3.4. 8.9, then a blank, and a 3.4. They kept all the numbers in the same order. They did not change order. So it is not commutative, because those numbers did not change order. Please write that on your paper. They did not change order. And it's not distributive because they didn't pull a number out. All the numbers are still there. So it has to be the other property. Do you remember what the other property was? It had to do with the way things were grouped with the parentheses. It's the associative property. Go ahead and write that on the line. Associative property. It's how you associate or group together. A-S-S-O-C-I-A-T-I-V-E. Associative property. So what is the number that goes on that line? Well, what number is missing? If they all kept in the same order and they just changed the parentheses, that should be pretty easy. I'm going to leave you to figure that one out. Which number is missing from that line? Don't solve the problem. Just put the answer on the line. Now, on number 15 and 16, you do have to do 15 and 16. They're all multiplication. I'm going to help you out with number 15, though. Take your light blue, circle the 15.4. It says Lester's car can go 15.4 miles on a gallon of gas. So how far can he go if he doesn't have a gallon, but he has almost a gallon? He has 0.7. That 1 gallon is just information. It's not important. Like it doesn't, you're not going to multiply that. You're going to multiply the two things that we circled. And then number 16 is about covering the area of something. So be careful, because area, with purple, underline area at the bottom. Area means you're going to have a measurement, and it's going to be squared. So centimeters squared or square centimeters. You have to be really careful with that. And I'm going to let you figure out how to solve the rest of those. So there's a lot of multiplication going on this page on homework 4.8. You do have to do all of it. Turn it to the remembering side. When you start to do problems that say, explain how you know the answer is reasonable, you have to use rounding. That's how you solve an answer. That's how you tell an answer is reasonable. So, let's quickly do number 1 together. Gosh, you are welcome. A rectangular sandbox has a length of 5 1/3 feet, and a width of 3 3/4 feet. What is its perimeter? Ooh, perimeter means add, not multiply. So we're adding 5 1/3, a sandbox. So let's draw the rectangle. has a length of 5 1/3 and a width of 3 3/4. So just draw a rectangle. Might be something like that. Length means how long is it from left to right. And width is how wide or how tall. We're going to use it as wide here. Width is 3 3/4. So you can't just add those two sides together, because you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to find the perimeter. And what does perimeter mean? I'm going to use blue. Perimeter means add all sides. You have to add all sides, which means you have to know what opposite of rectangles are. You know the opposite of the right is the left, and it is the same. The opposite of the bottom is the top, and it is the same. So then you have to add all those together. Be careful, they're fractions with unlike denominators. So I would combine like terms. I would do those two and those two first. So 5 and 5 make 10, and 1/3 and 1/3 make 2/3. So you have 10 and 2/3. And then 3 and 3 make 6. And 3/4 and 3/4 makes 6/4. I know that's improper, but I don't care right now. It's not my final answer. I'm just putting it all together so that I can add all sides and be done here. Some people are wondering, can't you just add these two and then multiply it by 2? Yes, you could do that as well. There's lots of different ways to solve this. But you can't, with the way I've done it, you can't add fractions if they don't have the same denominator. So 4ths and 3rds, those change into 12ths. This is way back to August and September with your robot voice on the bottom. How did I get from 4 to 12? I times by 3. Make sure you write that. And 6 times 3 is 18. Wiki wiki. Go to the top fraction. How did I get from 3 to 12? I times by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Wiki wiki. Look at all this fraction work. 8/12 plus 18/12. 8 plus 18 is 26. The denominator stubborn and stays. And then I have the 10 plus 6 still. This is a medal of honor. You can't leave it as 26/12. So I'm going to be making that medal of honor. How many times does 12 go into 26? Twice. And there'd be 2 baby 12ths left over. Don't forget to bring that 2 into it. But you have to simplify. This is crazy. You have to simplify the 2 12ths. So you divide each one by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 2 12ths changes to 1/6. Don't forget the fraction piece. So I've now drawn a line from the 16, from the 2, and from the 1/6. Giving me my beautiful medal of honor. Which is 18 and 1/6. So the answer, you're just adding feet. You did not multiply, so it's not feet squared. It's still just feet. You only change that if it's multiplied. So the answer is 18 and 1/6 foot, or feet. Not foot, sorry. Why is the answer reasonable? Well, we can just be really quick about this. We'll say because 10 and 2/3 rounds to, go ahead and write that. What does 10 and 2/3 round to? Does it round to 10 or does it round to 11? It rounds to 11. It's closer to 11, so write 11. And what is 6 6/4 round to? Well, technically 6 6/4 is 7 2/4, or 7 1/2. So it rounds to either 7 or 8. We could just say 7. It's fine either way. So why is the answer reasonable? Because 10 2/3 rounds to 11 and 6 6/4 rounds to 7. 11 plus 7 equals 18. And my answer was 18 1/6. I'm going to circle those two. Whew, that was a hard problem. Again, I'm going to sing the song. What can I say except you're welcome? Okay, you can definitely do the rest of these. You don't have to do stretch your thinking at the bottom. Go ahead and cross that out. But you do need to do the other problems. So they are going to take some time because it is multiplying, except for the story problems on stretch your thinking. I'm pretty sure number 2 is subtract. You're welcome. And number 3 is add. You're welcome. But all of the rest of these are going to be multiplying. So it's going to take some time. But let me offer you that reward. Remember, I told you to save this little half slip of paper. Okay. If you turn it to the page that has the bird, the toucan, if you solve all 8 of these problems, and you bring this piece of paper to me tomorrow or the next day we come to class, you can get 4 stamps. So I'm going to write it on here and you should write it as well so that I remember I offered this. Sometimes I forget because it's been a while. So if you solve numbers 1 through 8, you will get 4 stamps. You cannot bring this paper to me today. It has to be brought to me the next school day. So if we're doing this on a day that's going to be the weekend next, then you have to hang on to it and not lose it. And you bring it straight to me with a note that says it's 4 stamps, and I'll take a look at them and see how you did. If you get them correct, you get 4 stamps. If you do them and they're not correct, I'm not going to give you the 4 stamps until you get them all correct. Okay, so it's kind of an all or nothing. So go slow enough and decide whether or not you want the 4 stamps for doing this. So again, you can do this, which is optional for 4 stamps. I don't need you to do the story problems, so don't care about that. Or you could just start right away on your homework and remembering. Double check to see if you have a Think Central assignment assigned to you. You really might, so double check before you just start your assignment. Thanks for hanging in there today. Multiplication is just the best.